It's been over 10 years ago now that this happened, but I joined a ladies group where older women mentor younger women, and I strongly recommend it. It was an awesome experience. But my dear friend Ava, who is one of my mentors, she also has a Korean Bible study that she hosts in her home. And the women from Korea gave her a gift that she passed on to me at one time that was this wonderful, literally the best I've ever had in my life. Citron Tea is what it was called. If you are from Korea, you probably already know what I'm talking about. You have this wonderful fruit that we don't have in other parts of the world called citrons, and I'm sure there's another true name for them. I don't have an ability to use real citrons, but ever since that time that Ava gave me that wonderful citron tea, I have been doing my very best to manufacture a likeness to it for myself. And partly the reason is because it only had about 2 ingredients, and that was raw honey and citron fruit. So today I'm going to share with you one of my favorite new recipes that I've developed in the last couple of years, which is my own version of citron tea using Meyer lemons and mandarin oranges. You're going to love it, so stay with us. Every year when the weather turns cold and everybody starts talking about flu season and getting colds, you've probably seen our video on pine needle tea, which gives you about 500% of the vitamin C that you need. It's fantastic if you're out in the wild and you need some quick boost right on the spot. But if you are not out in the wild and you're inside and able to make something that's absolutely delicious here at home, but very simple, I'm going to encourage you to look into this recipe that we're making today. This is for citron tea, and this is one of the little jars of it I make almost every Christmas now and give it away as gifts to people. You'll see it has the full lemon right in it. And that's partly why it's so special and different than anything else that you've tried perhaps. This is a little jar that we're going to make one just like today. It only has really 3 ingredients. It has Meyer lemons, which when a friend asked me why Meyer lemons, I really don't know, except for I know that they're sweeter than regular lemons. You can get them organic, which is great, and they have a kind of a thinner peel on them, so it's not so much of the white thickness that you have to chew through if you're going to eat the little gleanings at the bottom of your cup, like you would if it was a lemon with a thick peel on it. So that's why I use Meyer lemons. They just seem to be more gentle and sweeter than regular lemons. Then I use this Clementine version of the mandarin orange. It actually is not organic. It's seedless, which makes it kind of nice. Now, a few seeds pop into the recipe regardless of how much you try and hunt them out. But for the most part, it's seedless, and these are real easy. We don't use the rind on these, though. We're just going to use the inner fruit. So, the last ingredient you need is raw honey. And I get this way, but if I have before gotten raw unfiltered honey, and it just had too much of the beeswax in it for it to work. So I get this raw filtered honey that has not been heated up before. So it still, at this moment, has plenty of nutritional content to it. You probably are aware that if you don't get raw honey, there really isn't very much nutrition left to it. I do want to also bring your attention to this, and that is if by chance you don't have fresh citrus with you, these are some dehydrated lemons that I have. They don't look that pretty, and I'll tell you, when you dehydrate lemons, they never turn out just real super beautiful. But you can actually make a version of this with just some dehydrated lemons and raw honey. It's going to make a similar drink. We're making the fresh today, though, that you're going to just fall in love with. So what I'm going to use is however many Meyer lemons I have, I'm going to use exactly half of that number in this. So today we're using 10 Meyer lemons, 5 clementines, and 2 cups of raw honey. Now, watch us as we put it together, all right? The very first thing I'm going to do is wash all of the fruit, which I've already done here before the video started. Then I'm going to take and peel 5 of these clementines and put them in this Revereware pan that I've got from Grandma over the stove over just medium heat. I don't want to cook this, but I do want to warm it up just enough that it starts to kind of decompose just a smidgen. So let's get started peeling 5 of these, and then we'll cut up some lemons to add with them. This smells so amazing. I wish you could smell it already. Just peeling oranges in your house makes you feel healthier, just smelling it in the air. I've got the pan already set to warm up. As I've got it on high at the moment, but as soon as it starts warming up, I'll turn it right down to a medium. And I really don't add any water, unless I think they might kind of burn on the bottom, then I'll add just a smidgen of water. But we'll put this very fifth clementine in here. You can hear them starting to warm up just there on the bottom. I guess I'll turn it here to medium, and I'm gonna maybe add, just a tablespoon of water. Woo! Just a tablespoon of water in there in the bottom so that nothing sticks or anything. Mostly we're just gonna give them the chance to kind of decompose just a smidgen while we spiral cut all of our Meyer lemons. So now I've got these, and really, since these are not organic, I am going to go ahead and probably just put these in the compost pile. Now I'm going to take 10 of these Meyer lemons. I will say this, if you get the organic kind, they are very prone to little spots that you need to cut out. So get the very best bag that you can find at the grocery store, but if you see a few spots like that, you want to make sure you've cut that out really thoroughly before you use these in here. We don't want any bad bacteria or any mold kind of growing in the rest of it. I think I've got enough good ones. I'm not going to worry about those. I'm going to find a perfect one, and I've already washed it. I am going to use, with the exception of maybe just this very hard little head and tail, I'm going to use this entire lemon. So I get a serrated edge paring knife, like you see I've got here. I'm going to just cut off that head and tail if I need to. Some of them you can't even tell. If there's not a real hard nub in there, I don't even cut them off. But now I'm going to take this and just watch kind of closely. There's no scientific method to this, but I'm going to start sawing in, and as I saw down through it, I'm not going to saw all the way to make a slice. I'm just going to start turning it as I cut, and it'll make a thin, spirally type slice. And sometimes they break. It's not a big deal. I don't want those rinds to get too thick. I'm pushing my luck here just a little bit, and if you take your time and go carefully, I really personally think the skinnier that little spiral, the better. It's just makes a better tea and is a little bit less hard to bite through. Now you'll notice those seeds, there's plenty of seeds in these Meyer lemons, and if they don't work themselves out on their own, when you kind of tear it apart and put it in, you notice the seeds kind of made their way out onto my cutting board already, which was convenient for that. All right, here we go. I'm on my very last lemon, and I'm spiral cutting it up just like I've done with the others. I'll get the seeds out. If it hasn't broken already by itself, I usually just stop and break about halfway through the lemon. As much as it's fun to try and make it all the way to the end, I don't think you'd want to put that in your teacup, an entire lemon in one long spiral. So sometimes I'll even cut it up. But there it is, 2 more spirals, and I'll finish this very last lemon. Once I've gotten the seeds taken out, like you see here, and I will save those seeds to use, but I'll put them all in this red bowl that you see here, and mostly that's just so that they are kept separate while the mandarin or the clementines are heating up behind me on the stove. I just don't want the lemons really to heat up that much. I want to kind of keep them as raw as possible. So as I finish this last lemon, there I go, I'm going to dump this whole bowl full of lemons into the clementines that I've had just slowly decomposing. I've actually turned this down to about 1/4 of the dial because it had been heating so long on the stove. But I'm just going to pour these in with them and kind of stir them all up so that their juices all run together. I want them all to incorporate well together. All right, I'm stirring them up together, and there's not a whole lot of juice, and that's great. I do see one little seed there I need to get rid of. don't worry, there are always going to be a few stray seeds that get in there. So I'm going to pour all of this into it. Juice and rinds and clementines and all. If you could smell this with me, you would just be in heaven, almost. Again, the lemons have not cooked at all, but the clementines have taken their chance. Now I'm going to pour in 2 cups of raw honey. So let's just eyeball it really. If I have a few extra lemons, I will pour in a little extra, and if it looks like it needs more honey, I'll do that. But let's see here. Looks to me like we've got about half of it. I'll pour in a smidgen more. I know that looks like a whole lot, but follow with me here and we'll see where the rest of the recipe takes us. Once we've got it in there, we're going to just stir it slowly together without getting it out of the bowl. I'm going to incorporate that all. Now, you've got 2 options here. Either you can let this sit on the counter just like this for a day or 2, or you can put it into the little jars that you'll have hold it and let it sit on the counter for a few days. That's usually what I do. Once I've got it nice and mixed up like this, I'll go ahead and just get a nice ladle out of the cabinet and ladle it into whatever jars I have nearby, usually rather small jars, because it's just great to give as gifts, and if I put it in small jars, I don't eat it as quickly as if it was in one big jar. It sort of looks like orange marmalade at this point, and as it sits over the next day or 2, the lemons kind of decompose just a little bit. Everything gets a little juicier and incorporates itself. All those flavors merge together. And I probably don't even have to tell you how completely healthy this is. Up till this point, we've kept the honey raw without heating it up. We've kept the lemons raw without heating them. So really, we've got a very high nutrition content with lots and lots of vitamin C that's going to be fantastic to drink in a hot cup of water here in a couple of days. I usually cheat and drink one right away because when it's fresh like this, it's so amazing. But let me get a ladle and let's put it in some little jars now. I've got my ladle, and this is my wonderful little cheater that I use often for canning, but this will help everything funnel right into here, especially with how wily they can get when you're trying to corral these long spirals. But I'm going to just take out my spoon that I used, and let's ladle a bit of this into each of these jars. Make sure I've got some of everything. You can see it's like little worms or something here. Get it close, and I'm going to put it right in there. Now, let's see. There it goes. You want a smidgen of headroom. I can fix that here in a minute, but go ahead and fill these up. You're going to tell people, this is the fun part of this kind of tea, and those of you who are diehard tea people are going to say that this is not tea at all because it doesn't have tea in it, actual tea. So yes, I understand that. We just call it tea. It's actually some sort of infusion, I'm sure, but we're leaving all of this lemon and orange right in it. And we're going to eat that at the bottom of our cup. That's the really fun part. You actually spoon this into your cup, and then when fill the rest of your cup up with water, and then once you have eaten, or once you've drunk the tea down, you're going to eat the little gleanings at the bottom of the cup, which makes it very special and different than any other tea I've had. And now I'm going to just put the hats on, and like I said, you're going to let these sit out at room temperature on the counter for several days. Really, 3 days is not bad at all. You could let them sit out for 3 days before you go ahead and refrigerate them. Some folks like to can them, and I would just say this: you could can them, but remember you're introducing them to a great deal of heat. So if I were to can this in the canner, I do think I would lose a lot of the nutrition content that we have right now with such a large amount of raw lemon and orange in there. And the honey loses its goodness too. So really I'm going to want to keep them as raw as possible. Leaving them on the counter for about 3 days is perfect, and then go ahead and put them in the refrigerator with a nice sealed lid and give them away as gifts to folks. Whatever you want to do. You might just want to enjoy the whole batch yourself like I often do. All right, before I let these rest for a few days on the counter, I just have to have a little taste test for myself. And I've gotten out my grandmother's china cup just to make it taste extra special. But this tastes just as good, just so you men know, this can taste just as good in some giant manly mug as it does in a dainty teacup like this. I'm gonna take now a couple of teaspoons of this. So just watch, it's all to preference. This is a very tiny cup, so really I'm just going to maybe put, about 2 tablespoons worth in the bottom of it, getting about equal parts of juice and yumminess. And let me show you what that looks like in the bottom of my cup. Can you see it in there? About that much. I don't know how much we're talking, but maybe 2 tablespoons or so. And I just fill it up to the top. It smells incredible. I'm going to stir that just a little bit. And all of those gleanings are going to settle at the bottom, and I'll enjoy this wonderful cup of hot, lemony honey goodness. And when I get to the bottom, I'll just enjoy sitting by the fire by myself and thinking about how wonderful life is and eating those little gleanings there at the bottom. They are not bitter, especially after they've soaked a few days in the honey. They just literally have this wonderful, mild, sweet, citrusy taste that's as close as I've been able to come to real citron tea from Korea. I'm gonna go enjoy this, but while I do, would you take just a minute to share this with somebody who maybe is a fresh case of the flu and they need some sort of good metabolism booster, or a friend or somebody that just enjoys hot tea? This is a fantastic pick-me-up, and I hope you'll share this video with somebody who will enjoy it. Share the recipe too. And like and comment, because we love hearing from you. Your comments and encouragement keep us going. So until I see you on the next video, go enjoy a hot cup of citron tea. Hey, before you go, I want to share a quick word of scripture again. This is out of Psalm 66, verses 8 and 9. It says, "Bless our God, O peoples. Let the sound of his praise be heard. Who has kept our souls among the living and has not let our feet slip." Now, go be courageous. Seek God's wisdom, and let's meet around the banquet table and swap adventure stories.